You might believe that sheer will, relentless effort is the sole architect of all your triumphs. You push, you strive, you build, but what happens when that meticulously crafted project simply unravels? If this resonates, pause a moment, perhaps like or subscribe, to join this journey into deeper understanding. Imagine dedicating months, even years, to a vision, a venture, a relationship, a carefully planned future. Every fiber of your being pours into it. You foresee success, the natural culmination of your relentless work. Then, slowly, subtly, cracks appear. Not from your lack of effort, not from your neglect, but from external forces. An unexpected market shift, someone else's unforeseen decision, a sudden, debilitating illness. You watch, powerless, as your intricate edifice begins to crumble. Peace. By agonizing peace, you feel a desperate frustration, a burning, insistent question screaming within you. Why? I did everything right. I gave my all. It's in this profound moment of unraveling, when effort alone proves brutally insufficient, that you confront a fundamental truth. You poured your soul into the asterisk process, yes, but the asterisk outcome was never truly yours to command. This isn't about giving up, not a surrender of ambition. It's a crucial reorientation. You discover that true resilience isn't found in doubling down on what's uncontrollable, but in understanding where your true agency lies. It's in the quality of your effort, your intentions, your character through the struggle, not the final, fickle result. You realize your deepest peace isn't tied to the project's survival, but to the wisdom of your disciplined participation. That profound moment when you witnessed your diligent efforts yield to forces beyond your grasp leaves you at a crossroads, a chilling realization. You had poured your essence into the outcome, yet it was never truly within your dominion. Now, you must look deeper. There exists a fundamental division, two distinct circles of reality. The first encompasses all that is truly yours: your thoughts, your judgments, your desires, your aversions, your actions, chosen with intention. This is your inner sanctum, your fortress. And the second circle, vast and indifferent, holds everything else: the opinions of others, their actions, the weather, the whims of fortune, the rise and fall of nations, the very project you labored over, its ultimate fate. These are external, not yours to command. You begin to feel the shift, the subtle yet seismic realignment. When you mistakenly intertwine these circles, when you seek to control what lies beyond your true power, you invite unending torment, frustration, anger, despair. These are the bitter fruits of illusion. But when you learn to discern, to meticulously separate what belongs to you and what does not, a quiet strength awakens. You pull back your mental energy from the tumultuous outer world. You invest it wholly in what is truly within your power, your response, your character, your inner freedom. This becomes your anchor, not an external certainty, which never truly exists, but an inner one, unshakable. You realize that your true power, your ultimate freedom, lies not in dominating the world around you, but in mastering the world within. You open your inbox, or perhaps you simply encounter a gaze, a whispered word. It reaches you, a judgment, sharp, unforgiving, a deep, deliberate cut into your very being. It speaks of your supposed flaws, your failures, the shortcomings of your character. The initial tremor, it is primal, a visceral reaction. You feel the heat rise, the blood quicken, an instinct to recoil, or to lash out, to defend, to explain, to furiously rewrite the narrative that has just been imposed upon you. Your carefully cultivated inner landscape, suddenly under siege. Silence. Then, you remember, the fundamental architecture of your power, that sacred delineation. You pause, and you ask yourself, where does this judgment truly reside? Is it within you, A substance you can command? Or is it an echo from beyond your walls? Their words, their thoughts, their opinions. These are not yours. They are not under your dominion. You cannot reach into another's mind and reshape their perception of you. You cannot enforce their approval. You cannot prevent their disapproval. To attempt such a feat is to chase a phantom, a source of perpetual anguish. Instead, you draw your consciousness inward, deep into your own citadel, your true domain. Here, you hold absolute sway. Your response, your assessment of yourself, your commitment to your own virtues. This is where your strength truly lies. You begin to observe the judgment, not as a truth about you, but as an event, an external phenomenon, like a passing cloud, or a gust of wind. It touches you, but it need not move you. You sift its contents. Is there a sliver of truth, a genuine opportunity for growth? Then consider it, with equanimity. If not, if it is mere noise, born of ignorance or malice, then let it pass. Unburden yourself. This is the profound alchemy, to transform the sting of criticism into a sharpened clarity, to stand unshakable, not against the world's clamor, but within your own resolute self. The bite of criticism, the sudden surge of indignity, that burning retort poised on your tongue. It's an ancient current, a raw, powerful impulse, and it demands immediate release. You feel its pull, the tightening in your chest, the rush to defend, to attack, to prove your righteousness, perhaps even at the cost of your own peace. This is the moment, the precipice, but you have gained a new perspective. You have learned to differentiate, to see the external as truly external. Now, apply that lens to the internal storm. Anger. It feels so urgent, so righteous, as if it possesses an inherent truth. But watch it, truly watch it, not from within its grip, but from a slight distance, as if you are observing a tempest on the horizon rather than being tossed within its waves. You notice its physical manifestations, the quickening breath, the clenching jaw, the narrative spinning in your mind. They wronged me. This is unfair. These are not you, not the core, rational you. They are asterisk impressions, passing thoughts, biological reactions. This is the power of the observer's gaze. You intercept the onslaught. You do not identify with the anger. You do not become it. Instead, you see it for what it is, a fleeting yet potent mental event, a wave crashing, not the ocean itself. You learn to create a space, a sacred pause, between the provocation and your response. In that pause lies your freedom. You question the impulse. Is this reaction wise? Does it serve my truest values? Will this anger lead me to act virtuously? Or will it merely perpetuate a cycle of suffering? By observing, rather than indulging, you reclaim your inner sovereignty. You transform that raw energy, not by suppressing it entirely, but by denying it control. You choose, not react. You cultivate a deeper calm, an unshakable center, even amidst the most profound storms. There it stands, an empty chair, or perhaps a vacant space in your home, a silence where laughter or conversation once echoed, the sudden, stark absence of someone you cherished, a friend, a mentor, a loved one. The world for a moment seems to tilt, colors fade, sounds dim, an icy grip on your heart, a profound sense of disorientation. You reach out instinctively for a presence that is no longer there. The permanence of this void, it feels unbearable. You had taken their presence for granted, not out of malice, but simply because it had always been, a constant, an assumed part of the tapestry of your life. Now, that thread is severed, and the whole fabric feels torn. This is the raw face of loss, a universal truth, yet it feels intensely personal. A deep, aching wound. You find yourself replaying memories, conversations, shared moments, each one now infused with a bittersweet poignancy, a longing for what was. The mind, it struggles. It resists. It screams against the irreversible. It yearns to rewind time, to prevent, to delay. But the clock moves only forward. And absence, once it settles, casts a long, unyielding shadow. It forces you to confront the fragility of all things external, of all that is borrowed, your loved ones, their very existence, their health, their continued presence in your life. None of these are truly within your control. And in that stark realization, a different kind of strength begins to emerge. Not a denial of pain, not a suppression of grief, but an acceptance. A profound, difficult acceptance of reality's terms. You realize that your love, your connection, these endure. But the physical presence was always a gift, lent, not owned. This moment teaches you to hold all things, especially those you cherish most, with an open hand. To appreciate their presence fully in the fleeting now, knowing that they are never truly guaranteed. Your peace, then, is not dependent on their unending presence, but on your unwavering virtue in their absence. The sting of loss lingers, a gnawing echo, an empty space where a vibrant presence once thrived. This truth, undeniable, solidifies around you, heavy and cold. But beyond the initial, jarring shock, you feel a deeper current rise within you, a profound, almost violent resistance. A desperate, primal urge to turn back the clock, to rewind the moments, to undo what has been irrevocably done. You replay scenarios with a feverish intensity. If only I had said, what if I could have prevented? The mind, a relentless combatant, battles furiously against an irreversible tide. You thrash, you struggle with every fiber of your being against the unyielding nature of what is. The exhaustion, it is profound. The futility, a bitter taste. Silence. A long, drawn-out moment of profound stillness. Imagine yourself, now, not just on the bank, but 20 sin, a vast, powerful river. Its waters rush onward, ceaseless and relentless, carrying all before them. You can fight the current with every ounce of your strength, exhaust yourself to the point of breaking, perhaps even drown in the sheer crushing futility of that struggle. Or you can learn its rhythm, you can observe its eddies and flows, you can accept its undeniable direction. Life's currents are just as unyielding, just as powerful. Events unfold, some gentle, some tumultuous. People enter your life, enriching your world. And then, inevitably they go, leaving behind their indelible mark. Moments pass, fleeting and precious, and they are never, ever to be reclaimed. The past is a fixed landscape, unchangeable, immutable, and the future an untamed ocean, a path yet largely unseen. This profound truth, it is not a whispered counsel for passive resignation. No, it is a clarion call, an invitation to profound, active wisdom. You begin to understand with a chilling clarity that your deepest suffering often intensifies, not from the raw, painful event itself, but from your tenacious, illogical resistance to its irreversible nature. It is the clinging, the fighting, the denial that binds you. When you cease fighting the river, when you release the desperate grip on what cannot be altered, you gain an astonishing clarity. You see precisely where your precious energy is best placed, not in the impossible task of attempting to turn the mighty current of time, but in navigating your own vessel, your own spirit, with skill, with courage, with unwavering virtue, within its destined flow. You learn to mourn deeply, to remember vividly, but then to gently, gracefully release the suffocating grip of what is past beyond your control. This act of profound acceptance, it isn't weakness. It isn't giving up on life or love. It is finding your true, unassailable power. It is aligning yourself, not with your desires, but with the grand, magnificent reality of existence. And in that conscious, deliberate alignment, a new, deep, and unshakable peace emerges. A resilience born not of brute force, but of radical, liberating understanding. You stand before it, the blank page, or perhaps the untouched canvas, the unstarted project, the crucial conversation you need to have. It is a frontier, a doorway to something new, and yet you remain frozen, motionless, silence. A profound hesitation grips you, not because you lack the skill or the knowledge, but because your mind is racing, projecting. What if you fail? What if your efforts are ridiculed? What if the outcome is imperfect? These imagined judgments, the potential for error, they loom, vast, terrifying, a heavy weight. You feel a strange paralysis, a deep, unsettling discomfort with the unknown that lies just beyond that first, decisive step. The sheer possibility of imperfection or disappointment, it holds you captive. You whisper to yourself, better not to start than to start and fall short. But this resistance, it is a phantom, a construct of your own mind. You are not fearing the asterisk act itself, the simple placing of words on paper, the brushstroke, the opening of your mouth. No, you are fearing the asterisk external judgments, the uncontrollable outcomes, the echoes of potential failure. These are not within your power. You realize this is the crucial distinction. The beginning, the act of starting this, is entirely within your domain. Your intention, your effort, your courage to simply begin, these are your true possessions. This profound realization, it begins to unravel the illusion. The fear you perceive is not of the blank page itself, but of the opinions that might one day be cast upon it. To overcome this paralysis, this deep, almost ritualistic hesitation, you must shift your focus, not to the imagined future, not to the world's unpredictable response, but to the purity of the present moment's challenge, to the simple virtuous act of beginning. You are not sacrificing future outcomes, you are sacrificing inaction. You discover that freedom from the paralyzing grip of fear comes not from guaranteeing success, but from detaching your worth from the outcome. You choose to act not for applause, but for the inherent good of the effort itself, to simply do. And in that doing, you conquer the fear before it even has a chance to manifest. The fear of the blank page, the terror of judgment. It speaks to a deeper vulnerability, your aversion to negative surprises. You crave stability, predictability, a life free from the jarring shock of unexpected setbacks. But life, as you now deeply understand, rarely offers such guarantees. Storms gather, paths diverge, people change, and the mind, unequipped, can be shattered by their sudden arrival. Silence. Now, consider a different approach, a practice, a deliberate journey into the darkness before the dawn. Every morning, or as the day closes, you pause. You sit in stillness, and you allow your mind to conjure, not pleasant fantasies, not comforting daydreams, but the very scenarios you most dread. Imagine that promotion you worked so diligently for, it goes to someone else. Not because you weren't worthy, but because of politics, or timing, or pure, indifferent chance. You feel the disappointment, the sting of injustice. You let it wash over you. Imagine a valued possession, something you hold dear, lost. broken, irretrievable. You feel the pang of attachment, the sense of violation. Imagine a loved one speaking words of harsh criticism, misunderstanding you completely. Not malice, perhaps, but a genuine disconnect. You feel the hurt, the urge to defend. You don't just imagine these events. You visualize your response, your inner resolve, your commitment to remaining rational, to acting with kindness, to choosing virtue, even in the face of these imagined adversities. This isn't an invitation to pessimism or a morbid dwelling on misfortune. Far from it. This is a profound rehearsal, a mental inoculation. You are not perpetuating disaster. You are preparing for reality. By systematically exposing your mind to potential hardships in advance, by experiencing the imagined discomfort, you strip these events of their element of surprise. You defang their sudden emotional shock. When the real storm inevitably arrives, as it always does, your mind is not caught unawares. It has already walked this path. It has already practiced its response. You realize that resilience isn't the absence of hardship. It's the premeditated strength to meet it. You cultivate an inner fortress not by wishing away the siege, but by building its walls, brick by deliberate brick, in the quiet solitude of your own thoughts. You transform fear of the unknown into a calm, resolute readiness. You become unconquerable, not because nothing can strike you, but because you have prepared your soul to stand firm, no matter what comes. You post a thought, an image, a glimpse into your life, and then you wait, with a subtle, almost imperceptible tension, for the likes, the comments, the digital validation. Each notification, a tiny surge, a fleeting reassurance. But what happens when the response is muted? When the expected surge of connection simply doesn't arrive? The silence, it echoes louder than any applause. Silence, a flicker of unease, a whisper of doubt. Did you fall short? Was it not good enough? You might find yourself scrolling, comparing, noticing the effusive praise heaped upon others, and a creeping sense of inadequacy begins to settle. You feel the hollow ache, the fleeting nature of that digital affirmation. It came, it went, and now you are left strangely empty, perhaps even more vulnerable than before. You recognize this pattern, this relentless, consuming chase. This is the tyranny of external validation, the profound mistake of outsourcing your self-worth. You are letting the fickle, unpredictable opinions of others dictate your inner state. Their thumbs up, their hearts, their fleeting attention become the fragile pillars upon which your contentment rests. But their approval, their fleeting attention, these are not yours to control. They are external, dependent on their mood, their algorithms, their ever-shifting whims. To anchor your peace to such shifting sands is to guarantee instability, to ensure a life of perpetual anxiety. You begin to see this chase for what it truly is, a distraction, a diversion from the real work, the cultivation of an inner self that stands firm, independent, grounded in its own inherent value. This realization cuts deep. It isn't about abandoning connection. It's about redefining its source. True resilience isn't built on the shifting foundation of external praise. It is forged within. In your own character, your own virtues, your own unwavering commitment to what is right, not what is popular. You discover that freedom from this digital mirror comes when you learn to validate yourself, when your inner compass, your own reasoned judgment, becomes your most trusted guide. You choose to act with integrity, to share with authenticity, not for the fleeting applause, but for the profound satisfaction of living truthfully. And in that you find a peace that no amount of digital validation could ever truly provide. The digital mirror showed you a reflection, one that flickered, uncertain, dependent on external light. You felt the chill of its impermanence, the hollowness of its fleeting validation. And in that unease you found a potent question stirring within. silence. Where, then, does true worth reside? If not in the fickle applause of the crowd, if not in the shifting sands of public opinion, where can you plant your feet so firmly that no storm of judgment, no wave of disapproval can unmoor you? You turn inward. You begin a deliberate excavation, peeling back the layers of expectation, of conditioned desires, of the stories you've been told about what makes you valuable. You consider your actions, your intentions, your character, not as they appear to others, but as they are in their purest form within your own conscience. Are you acting with honesty, with courage, with justice, with temperance? Are you striving to be a good human being according to your own deepest, most rational understanding? This is the bedrock. This is the unshakable core. It means that when someone praises you, you accept it with grace, but without allowing it to swell your ego beyond reason. It is merely their opinion, their impression. And when someone criticizes you, you examine it with an open mind, not for validation, but for any possible truth that could lead to your genuine improvement. If there is truth, you absorb it, not as a wound, but as a lesson. If there is none, you let it pass, untouched, like a whisper on the wind. Your value, your intrinsic worth, is not a negotiable commodity. It is not something that can be granted or revoked by others. It is inherent. It is built upon the foundation of your own moral choices, your commitment to reason, your pursuit of virtue. You realize that seeking external validation is akin to asking a beggar to confirm your riches. Your wealth is within. It is self-evident. This transformation is profound. You feel a new kind of inner silence, a quiet confidence. The constant anxiety of needing to be seen, to be approved of, begins to dissipate. You are no longer performing for an audience. You are living for yourself, for your values. You stand firm, not defiant, not arrogant, but simply steady, knowing that the storms of external opinion may rage, but they cannot reach the quiet sanctuary of your unshakable core. And in that profound inner stillness, you find an enduring resilience that makes you truly free. You charted a course, laid out the steps, each phase meticulously planned. You saw the destination, clear, bright, inviting. Then, a sudden, jarring halt. The road ahead simply vanished. A detour sign pointing nowhere familiar. Or worse, a solid, unyielding wall where an open path should have been. A project stalls. A journey rerouted. An opportunity dissolved. You feel the immediate surge of disbelief. Then, frustration, a burning sense of injustice. Your mind grapples. It fights the new reality. This wasn't in the script. This wasn't part of the grand design you painstakingly constructed. You question. You resist. You search desperately for a way back to the original, correct trajectory. Silence, a deep breath, and then you remember. The fundamental architecture of your power. This external event, the roadblock, the changed landscape, it is not inherently good or bad. It's simply thuas. It is your judgment of this event, your rigid attachment to the asterisk original plan that generates your suffering. Your true power was never in commanding the road itself, only in commanding your gaze, your steps, your adaptation, your inner compass. The path you thought was destined was merely a preference, a hopeful projection, not an unalterable decree. You begin to loosen your grip, not on ambition, but on the specific immutable form it must take. You learn to see the detour not as a dead end, but as a new, unexpected terrain, one that requires a fresh assessment, new skills, perhaps even reveals a different, equally valuable destination, or simply strengthens your resolve to adapt. This is the profound art of acceptance, not passive surrender, but active, courageous adaptation. You realize that true resilience doesn't come from preventing detours, but from mastering the wisdom to navigate them. You transform the frustration of the unexpected into the quiet strength of unshakable flexibility. You encountered the roadblock. The plans, once so clear, now shattered. The path, once straight, now lost in a maze of the unexpected. The initial surge of anger, of frustration, slowly recedes. But the debris remains. The broken pieces of your former expectations. The raw, tangible evidence of thwarted ambition. This is where many falter. They stare at the wreckage, lamenting what was lost. They remain trapped in the past. Silence. Now you begin a new practice. A deliberate shift in perspective. You look at these shattered pieces, not as symbols of defeat, but as raw materials. Imagine an ancient blacksmith, his forge roaring. When a piece of metal, intended for one purpose, breaks or warps, he does not discard it. Not if it still holds value. He reheats it. He hammers it. He reshapes it. He transforms the very obstacle into the essence of a new creation. This is what you begin to do with your setbacks, your disappointments, your unexpected detours. The failure of the original plan is simply information. It reveals something, perhaps a flaw in your initial assumptions, a weakness you hadn't anticipated, a blind spot in your vision. This information is immensely valuable. It is wisdom forged in the fires of experience. You ask yourself, what can be learned from this? What new skill can be developed? What previously unseen opportunity has now been illuminated by this change of course? This isn't about forced optimism. It's about practical alchemy. It's about viewing adversity not as a curse, but as a crucible, a necessary process of transformation. Every barrier, every obstacle can be, if you choose it, an exercise in resourcefulness, an opportunity to hone your patience, to deepen your understanding of the world's unpredictable nature, to strengthen your inner character. You realize that true resilience is not merely bouncing back to the old path. It's about bouncing forward, reconstructing, adapting, not just surviving the challenge, but emerging from it, wiser, stronger, more capable. You become the architect of your own transformation, using the very stones that blocked your way to build a new, more enduring foundation. And in that deliberate act of reframing, of building, you discover an unyielding strength that makes failure itself a fertile ground for growth. You gave your best. You acted with integrity. You poured your efforts into a task, a relationship, a cause. And then the verdict arrives. Not praise, not even indifference, but blame, unfair, unjust, misplaced. The accusation hangs in the air, heavy, undeserved. You feel the sharp, bitter taste of injustice. The immediate urge to defend, to explain, to meticulously dismantle every false claim. A profound sense of indignation flares within you. How could they not see? How could they misunderstand so completely? Silence. You replay the moments. You meticulously gather the evidence in your mind. Every right action, every pure intention. And the more you recall, the hotter the fire of resentment burns. Your merit, your character, it feels attacked, tarnished. And this, you believe, demands a forceful rectification. But then, you pause. You remember the two circles, the domain of your control, and the vast, indifferent realm beyond it. Their judgment, their perception, their decision to blame you. These are not yours. You cannot force them to see the truth. You cannot compel them to acknowledge your innocence. To demand such a thing is to try and grasp smoke. This is a subtle, yet profound distinction. Your actions were within your control. Your intentions were within your control. But the asterisk outcome of those actions and the asterisk perceptions of others were never truly guaranteed. You begin to shift your focus, not on altering their external judgment, but on fortifying your internal conviction. You ask yourself, did I act with virtue? Did I do my best? Was my conscience clear? If the answer is yes, then what power does their false blame truly hold over your soul? None. You realize that true merit is not validated by external recognition. It is validated by your own unwavering commitment to virtue. It is an inner truth, not an outward declaration. This isn't about becoming passive. It is about becoming impervious to what doesn't belong to you. You choose to act rightly, not for reward, but because it is the right thing to do. And in that, you discover an unshakable inner peace, a resilience that renders the sting of unfair blame impotent. You are free, not from accusation, but from its power to diminish your authentic self. The sting of unfair blame, the raw ache of injustice. Your inner self cried out for vindication, for the balance to be restored. The primitive urge to lash back, to shatter their false narrative, still lingers, but you held firm. You separated your inner truth from their external judgment. Now a deeper challenge emerges. How do you respond to such clear injustice? How do you act when your merit is dismissed, your efforts overlooked, and blame is wrongly laid at your feet? The urge to rage, to descend into bitterness, to demand satisfaction, it is powerful. Silence. You recall the lesson of the observer's gaze, the impartial stance. Now apply it not just to the emotion within you, but to the situation before you. You become like a judge, not a vengeful one, but an impartial, reasoned arbiter. You examine the facts. You acknowledge the external event, the unfair blame. It is a reality. But you also examine your impressions of that event, the story your mind wants to tell itself about how devastating this is, how wrong it feels, how it must be corrected by force. You ask, what is truly within my power here? Can I control their perception? No. Can I control their future actions? Only indirectly, through my own virtuous example, but not through force. What you can control is your own reaction, your own choice of action. This is not about tolerating injustice passively, not about allowing yourself to be a doormat. It's about choosing the asterisk most effective and most virtuous response. Does a furious outburst serve justice? Or does it merely confirm their negative perception, eroding your own peace in the process? Instead, you choose clarity. You choose reason. You state your truth, calmly, factually, if the situation demands it and allows for it. You present your case if there is an avenue for rational discourse, but you do so without attachment to their acceptance. Your aim is to speak your truth, not to compel their belief. You learn that your peace does not depend on their conviction. It depends on your own integrity, your commitment to acting virtuously, regardless of how others perceive you or treat you. This is the forge of true resilience. To face injustice, not with the destructive fire of rage, but with the cool, discerning light of reason. You become the embodiment of fairness, not just in your actions, but in your very spirit. You prove your worth not by winning every argument, but by preserving your inner calm and choosing to act justly, even when the world around you does not. You see it, the position, the title, the recognition. It gleams before you, a coveted prize. You pour your energy into pursuing it. You invest your hopes, your dreams, your sense of future fulfillment. This promotion, it becomes synonymous with your happiness, your success, your very worth. The waiting period is agonizing. Every meeting, every email, every casual conversation feels loaded with unspoken meaning. Your focus narrows. Your peace, it feels entirely dependent on this one outcome: silence. Then the news arrives. It is not yours. The coveted position goes to someone else. A profound shock. A sudden, crushing weight. Your carefully constructed edifice of expectation, it crumbles. You feel a deep, burning disappointment, a sense of personal failure, perhaps even betrayal. I deserved it, a voice cries within you. I worked harder. The bitterness takes root. You watch the successful candidate with a mixture of envy and resentment. Their triumph feels like a personal slight. You question everything: your efforts, your value, your very place in the world. This intense suffering, it stems not from the event itself, the promotion going to another. That is an external fact, indifferent. It stems from your attachment to it, your belief that your happiness, your fulfillment, was irrevocably tied to that particular outcome. You had made your peace conditional. You had handed over the reins of your inner state to an external, uncontrollable event. This desire, once a motivator, became a shackling chain. This is the profound realization. Your desires, when unexamined, can become your greatest masters. They can lead you to chase phantoms of happiness, forever just beyond your grasp. True resilience isn't found in guaranteeing that you always get what you want. It's found in learning to want what comes, not passively, but with a discerning eye. You begin to untangle yourself, to loosen the grip of your attachment, to separate your self-worth from external achievements. You realize that your true value, your inner peace, is not dependent on a promotion, or a title, or any external reward. It resides within your own character, your virtue, your integrity. You choose to pursue goals with zeal, yes, but with an open hand. You strive, but you do not cling. You commit to the effort, but remain indifferent to the capricious results. And in that profound detachment, you discover an unshakable freedom, a peace that no external setback can ever truly diminish. The sting of disappointment, the bitterness of thwarted desire, it was a potent lesson. You had learned that happiness, when chained to external outcomes, becomes a cruel master. The coveted promotion, the imagined future, these were not yours to command. Now, a deeper question presents itself. If clinging to desires brings suffering, does this mean you should desire nothing at all? Does it mean you should walk through life indifferent, cold, disengaged? Silence. No, this is not the way. This is not the Stoic path. It is not about becoming unfeeling. It is about becoming unbound. Imagine holding a precious bird in your hands. If you clutch it tightly, in a possessive, desperate grip, you will crush it. It will die. But if you hold it gently, with an open palm, allowing it the freedom to fly, yet cherishing its momentary presence, then you experience its beauty, its life, without seeking to own it. This is the essence of holding life's gifts lightly. You work towards your goals with passion. You pursue relationships with genuine affection. You cherish your health, your possessions, your achievements. You engage fully with the world. But you do so with an awareness, a quiet understanding that all these things are on loan. They are externals, beyond your ultimate control. They are transient, like flowers that bloom and then fade, like rivers that flow and then change course. When you practice this loose grip, you begin to transform your relationship with loss and disappointment. When a goal is not met, you feel the natural pang, but not the crushing despair. You mourn the absence, but not the violent resistance to reality. You grieve the departure, but you cherish the memory. Without demanding endless presence, you realize that your deepest joys come not from the permanence of things, but from the quality of your engagement with them while they are present. Your virtue in pursuing them, your gratitude for having them. This changes everything. You become capable of immense effort, but without the anxiety of attachment. You love deeply, but without the fear of inevitable loss consuming your present joy. You gain a profound resilience, not because you never lose anything, but because you have cultivated an inner fortress that does not depend on holding on to what the world may, at any moment, reclaim. You discover that true freedom lies in loving deeply, striving passionately, yet holding all things with an open, accepting hand. And in that spaciousness, an unshakable peace takes root. A door closes behind you, the air thick with unspoken opportunity. You've just been presented with an offer, a chance, a shortcut perhaps. It promises much: advancement, security, ease, all within your grasp. But there is a catch, a small, almost imperceptible whisper of compromise, a bending of the truth, a slight deviation from your deepest principles. You stand there, alone. The silence stretches. Your mind races. It paints vivid pictures of the benefits, the comfort, the relief from struggle. It rationalizes. Who would know? It's just this once. Everyone does it. The path of least resistance. It beckons. A seductive current. But beneath the surface of these compelling arguments, a different voice stirs. A low hum. It speaks of something else. Of the person you strive to be. Of the values you hold sacred. Of the quiet, unyielding integrity you've built, brick by painstaking brick, within your own soul. This is the true test. Not of your cleverness, not of your ambition, but of your very essence. You realize with a chilling clarity that the external gain, however enticing, is just that, external. It is fleeting. It can be given, and it can be taken away. But the cost of this compromise, it is paid within, to your own character, to your own self-respect. And that is a debt that lingers, a wound that festers. This is where your true power lies, not in securing the gain, but in guarding your inner citadel, your virtue, your honor, your truth. These are the only possessions that are truly irrevocably yours. You understand now. To choose the compromise is not merely to gain something. It is to sacrifice an irreplaceable part of yourself, to willingly dim the light of your own integrity, and the price of that is far heavier than any external reward. You discover a profound, often solitary strength in upholding your principles. It isn't always celebrated. It doesn't always lead to immediate reward. But it leaves you whole, resolute, anchored. You choose, in that moment of quiet decision, to walk illuminated by your own inner light, regardless of the shadows around you. And in that choice you cultivate a resilience that no external offer, no matter how tempting, can ever undermine. You stood at the precipice. The tempting offer. The whisper of compromise. You felt the raw pull of external gain, but you heard the deeper call of your own integrity, and in that quiet moment, you chose to uphold your principles. The immediate reward may not have manifested. The easier path remained untaken, but something far more profound began to solidify within you. Silence. Imagine yourself as an architect, not of buildings, but of your very soul. Every choice you make, every decision to act with honesty, with courage, with justice, or with self-control, is like placing a perfectly cut stone. Each compromise, each bending of truth, is like chipping away at the foundation. Or worse, laying a rotten beam. You realize that the true edifice of your life is not your wealth, not your status, not your reputation in the eyes of others. These are fleeting decorations, easily swept away by the winds of fortune. The true enduring structure is your character. This is the unseen work, the constant, diligent effort that nobody else truly witnesses. It's in these small, seemingly insignificant decisions. The truth spoken when a lie would be easier. The act of kindness when no one is looking. The patience exercised when frustration boils. Each one, a stroke of a chisel, shaping the masterpiece of your inner self. You begin to understand that genuine resilience, an unshakable inner peace, does not spring from an absence of challenges. It is forged the fire of those challenges. It is built by your consistent, unwavering commitment to your highest values, especially when it is difficult. Especially when no one is watching. Your character becomes your ultimate safeguard. Your impregnable fortress. Because when external fortunes inevitably crumble, when reputations are unjustly tarnished, when losses strike, you remain whole. You remain grounded. Your inner integrity, your self-respect are untouched. They are entirely within your control. This is the ultimate freedom. To be so deeply anchored in your own virtue that the shifting tides of the external world cannot disturb your inner calm. You become the master of your own soul. The unseen architect, building a life of unyielding character, not for display, but for the profound, enduring strength it bestows. And in that strength, you find an unbreakable resilience that transcends all external circumstances. You envision it, a perfect outcome, a flawless scenario, the ideal partner, the dream job, the triumphant success. After meticulous planning, you hold this image in your mind. You nurture it. You project it onto the future. And then reality intervenes. Not a catastrophic failure, not a complete loss, but a subtle, jarring mismatch. The partner has quirks you didn't anticipate. The job comes with unforeseen challenges. The triumph is accompanied by a host of complicated aftermaths. It's not the pure, unblemished perfection you had so carefully constructed. You feel the slow, creeping disappointment, a gnawing sense of unease. You compare the real to the ideal, and the real always falls short. You find yourself dwelling on what asterisk isn't there, what should be. The persistent gap between your expectation and the messy truth, silence. This internal struggle, this subtle yet potent friction, is born from a fundamental misunderstanding. You have conflated your idealized image of an external event with the actual event itself. You allowed your happiness to become conditional on a fantasy. You realize that expectation, when rigid and absolute, is often a precursor to suffering. It's an attempt to control the uncontrollable, to dictate the precise texture and hue of an outcome that is inherently fluid and complex. Life rarely delivers in pristine packages. It offers up situations with a mix of good and bad, strengths and flaws, joys and challenges. And when you demand only the perfect, you blind yourself to the genuine value that exists in the imperfect. You reject the whole for the sake of an unattainable part. This is the profound insight. True resilience isn't the ability to achieve perfect outcomes. It's the capacity to embrace tandered mean outcomes. To meet reality, not with a pre-written script, but with an open mind and a flexible spirit, you learn to loosen your grip on rigid expectations. To observe what night rather than lament what asterisk isn't. You focus on your response to reality, on finding the good, on applying your virtues, regardless of whether it aligns with your initial dream. And in that acceptance, a different kind of appreciation flourishes. You discover joy in the genuine, the flawed, the unexpected. Your peace no longer depends on reality conforming to your dream, but on your ability to find wisdom and virtue within whatever reality presents. And in that, you unlock an unshakable contentment that transcends all shattered expectations. The weight of shattered expectations. It was a heavy burden. You had seen the gap between your imagined perfection and the imperfect reality. And in that gap, disappointment had taken root. But you understand now. It is not the event itself that brings suffering. It is your judgment. Your insistence that reality conform to your rigid ideal. Silence. Now imagine an ancient alchemist. Not one who literally turns lead into gold, but one who possesses the deeper, more profound secret, the ability to transform perception. to find value where others see only dross, to understand that the inherent nature of a thing is less important than the lens through which it is viewed. You begin to cultivate this alchemist's lens. When faced with a situation that falls short of your ideal, you do not immediately label it bad. Instead, you consciously, deliberately reframe. A sudden, inconvenient delay in your travel plans? You could rage against the wasted time. Or, with the alchemist's lens, you see it as an unexpected gift of stillness. A chance to read that book. To reflect. To practice patience. A minor flaw in a completed project? You could lament its imperfection. Or, you see it as a reminder of human fallibility. A spur to greater diligence next time. A testament to the honest effort that, despite its minor imperfection, still delivered something valuable. A person who frustrates you with their seemingly irrational behavior? You could condemn them. Or, you try to understand their perspective. To practice empathy. To see their actions as a product of their own, often misguided, impressions, over which you have no control, and you focus on your own virtuous response. This isn't about deluding yourself. It's about exercising your profound power of atana, no consent. You choose what meaning to ascribe. You choose what narrative to adopt. You choose whether an event is an obstacle or an opportunity for virtue. You realize that resilience isn't about altering the world to fit your desires. It's about altering your perception to fit the world. It's about recognizing that every single circumstance, no matter how unwelcome, presents an opportunity to practice virtue, patience, courage, wisdom, justice. You become the master alchemist of your own experience, turning the lead of disappointment into the gold of wisdom and inner strength. And in that profound shift of view, you find an unshakable contentment, a joy that doesn't depend on perfect circumstances, but on the unwavering perfection of your own character. You toil, day in, day out. You put in the hours, the effort, the relentless dedication. You envision the results, the progress, the breakthrough. But the journey, it feels endless. The progress, imperceptible. Like chipping away at a mountain with a tiny hammer. You look around. Others seem to ascend with ease, their victories swift, their paths unhindered. And a subtle current of frustration begins to gnaw at you, a whisper of self-doubt. Is this even worth it? Will my efforts ever truly bear fruit? Silence, the constant comparison, the yearning for rapid, visible progress. This is the subtle trap. You have attached your sense of value, your motivation, to an asterisk external metric, the speed and scale of your progress. And these, you realize, are rarely within your absolute control. The world does not always reward effort linearly, or immediately, or visibly. Markets shift. Opportunities arise and vanish. External factors, beyond your influence, always play their part. To tie your contentment to these unpredictable currents is to set yourself up for perpetual unease. This is the profound insight. Your power lies not in commanding the asterisk pace of progress, but in controlling the asterisk quality of your effort. Your diligence, your consistency, your commitment to the process itself. You begin to shift your focus. Instead of obsessing over the finish line or the next big leap, you concentrate on the single present moment, the task at hand, the next swing of the hammer, the next step. You learn to find meaning, not in the distant outcome, but in the virtuous application of your energy, right here, right now. This isn't about abandoning ambition. It's about redefining success. Success becomes less about the external accumulation of results and more about the internal cultivation of character. It's about being diligent, disciplined, and patient, regardless of how quickly the mountain yields. You discover a quiet strength in this relentless, unglamorous dedication, an inner resilience that isn't dependent on external validation or immediate rewards. You are cultivating a profound sense of purpose that thrives even in the face of the endless grind. Your peace comes not from the speed of the journey, but from the integrity of your stride. And in that, you find an enduring contentment that no slow progress can ever truly diminish. The endless grind. The slow, seemingly invisible pace of progress. You wrestled with the frustration of external metrics, and you learned to re-anchor your worth, not to the fleeting outcome, but to the unwavering quality of your effort. Now a deeper insight unfolds. An ancient wisdom, often overlooked in our impatient, results-driven world. Silence. Imagine yourself as a gardener. You prepare the soil with diligent care. You select the finest seeds. You plant them with precision. You water them daily. You ensure they receive adequate sunlight. You protect them from pests. These are your efforts, your actions, your responsibilities. But you cannot command the seed to sprout immediately. You cannot force the plant to grow at an accelerated rate. You cannot control the weather, the sudden downpour, or the unexpected drought. The timing of the bloom, the size of the harvest, these are not yours to dictate. If you stood over your garden, demanding instant, visible growth, you would be consumed by anxiety, by frustration. You would be fighting against the very nature of life itself. A wise gardener understands this. They commit to the asterisk process. They trust in the fundamental laws of nature. They know that consistent, virtuous effort, applied over time, is the only true path to a bountiful yield. Their peace comes not from the instant gratification of a blooming flower, but from the quiet satisfaction of having done their part, day after day, with dedication and care. This is your profound lesson. You learn to cultivate the gardener's wisdom within yourself. You focus relentlessly on the seeds you plant, your virtuous actions, your consistent learning, your dedicated practice. You nourish your inner garden with patience, with discipline, with unwavering attention to what is truly within your control. You release the desperate need for immediate, visible results. You understand that growth, whether of a plant or of your own character, often happens imperceptibly, below the surface, in the quiet depths of consistent effort. You realize that resilience isn't about overcoming instantaneous hurdles. It's about enduring the long, often unglamorous journey of growth itself. It's about finding joy and purpose in the steady, deliberate application of your best self, regardless of the timelines set by the external world. You become rooted, grounded, and in that deep, quiet commitment to the process, you cultivate an unshakable inner peace, a harvest of contentment that ripens, slowly but surely, with every virtuous act. You find yourself in a crowd, or perhaps in a conversation. A strong opinion is voiced, a popular sentiment. It ripples through the group, and you feel a subtle pressure, a silent demand to agree, to nod, to conform. Even if, in your deepest conscience, a different truth whispers, you hesitate. To speak your mind might invite disapproval. A raised eyebrow, a moment of awkward silence. The perceived cost of standing apart, it feels immense. It feels like a threat to your belonging. Silence. So, you bite your tongue. You offer a vague agreement. You blend in. And in that moment of quiet conformity, a subtle shift occurs within you. A flicker of unease. A dimming of your own inner light. This is the seductive pull of the echo chamber. The profound human desire for acceptance. You crave belonging. You fear isolation. And so, you sacrifice a piece of your authenticity on the altar of social harmony. But this harmony, it is an illusion, a fragile construct built on unspoken compromise. The approval you gain by conforming it is hollow, for it is not truly you that is being accepted, it is the compliant mask you wear. You realize that this external validation, this fragile sense of belonging based on agreement, is not truly within your control. people's opinions, their acceptance, their judgments. These are all externals. To tie your inner peace to such fickle currents is to be constantly buffeted by the winds of consensus. This is the profound insight. Your true belonging, your most authentic connection, must first be to yourself, to your own reason, to your own virtues, to the inner compass that guides your actions and your judgments. You begin to recognize the true cost of conformity. It is the erosion of your own character, the quiet suppression of your own unique perspective, the sacrifice of your freedom. You cultivate a new kind of courage, not the reckless kind, but the quiet, deliberate courage of integrity. You learn to speak your truth, not with aggression, but with clarity and conviction, knowing that your highest allegiance is to virtue itself. You discover a profound resilience in this unwavering self-alignment. You realize that true strength doesn't come from being universally liked, but from being genuinely yourself. And in that steadfastness, you find a belonging that is deeper, more enduring, and far more meaningful than any fleeting external approval, the subtle pressure to conform, the fleeting comfort of belonging at the cost of your authentic self. You felt the whisper of compromise, and you chose instead the harder path, the path of inner truth. Now a greater clarity emerges, a profound sense of liberation. Silence. Imagine yourself on a vast open sea. Around you, countless ships sail. Some hug the coastline, fearful of the deep. Others follow the strongest currents, driven by the whims of the wind. Many simply mimic the course of the largest, most visible vessel, hoping it leads to safe harbor. Their compasses, if they have them, are ignored. Their charts, unread. But you possess an inner compass, a precise, unyielding guide. It is your reason, your cultivated wisdom, your unwavering commitment to virtue. It points, not to the popular course, nor to the easiest, but to the course that aligns with your deepest, truest self. You begin to ignore the clamor of the other ships, their shouted opinions, their hurried changes of direction. You listen, instead, to the quiet, steady hum of your own inner guide. This doesn't mean you become isolated. No, it means your connections become deeper, more authentic. You seek out those who also sail by their own inner compass, those who value genuine discourse over blind agreement. You build your relationships on mutual respect for individual integrity, not on superficial conformity. You realize that true freedom isn't the absence of external pressure. It's the presence of an unshakable inner resolve. It's the ability to chart your own course, even when the winds of popular opinion blow fiercely in another direction. This is the forge of your resilience, to act not because others approve, but because your reason dictates it. To speak, not because it's popular, but because it's true. To live, not by consensus, but by conscience. You become the master of your own voyage, unbound by the shifting tides of the crowd, unmoved by their praise or their condemnation. You navigate with a quiet confidence. And in that steadfast journey, guided by your own inner compass, you discover an unyielding peace, a profound contentment that comes from knowing you are always truly at home within yourself. You wake. The sun rises. A new day unfolds. You drink clean water. You eat. You have a roof over your head. People who care. You walk. You see. You hear. These moments, these simple blessings, they pass, unremarked, uncelebrated, accepted, as if by right. Your mind races ahead to the next task, the next goal, the next problem. It dwells on what is lacking, what is imperfect, what could be better. The richness of the present moment, it slips through your fingers like fine sand. Silence. This is the insidious nature of taking things for granted, the subtle poisoning of contentment. You possess so much, yet your awareness is clouded by the pursuit of more. by the absence of an imagined ideal. You fail to see the profound value in the ordinary, the miraculous gift of simply being suit, of having a healthy body, of clear faculties, of the quiet moments of peace. These fundamental building blocks of a good life, they become invisible, background noise. This oversight, it creates a dangerous vulnerability. When these very blessings are inevitably threatened or removed, as they always are, for nothing external is permanent, the shock is immense, the loss crippling, because you never truly appreciated them while they were present. You never built the inner gratitude that could serve as a buffer against their departure. This is the profound insight. Your capacity for resilience, your ability to bounce back from loss, is deeply interwoven with your capacity for appreciation before dog's loss. You begin a new practice, a deliberate cultivation of gratitude. You pause, you observe, you truly trulses the clean glass of water. You truly feel the warmth of the sun. You truly hear the voice of a loved one. You acknowledge these gifts, not as entitlements, but as precious, temporary loans from the universe. You realize that happiness is not a distant destination. It is the mindful apprehension of the present moment. It is the conscious recognition of the multitude of blessings that already surround you. You become an active participant in your own contentment, no longer waiting for grand events to trigger joy, but finding profound satisfaction in the quiet, steady rhythm of existence. And in that cultivation of deep, everyday gratitude, you build an unshakable inner peace, a resilience that transforms every fleeting moment into a profound and cherished gift. You have begun to see the countless blessings, once invisible, now shimmer with new meaning. You are cultivating gratitude, a quiet revolution of the soul. But there is another layer to this understanding, a deeper, more potent reminder of life's preciousness: silence. Imagine, just for a moment, that this very day is your last. Not in a morbid, fearful way, but with a vivid, crystalline clarity. You awaken. The sun streams through your window, and a profound understanding settles upon you. Every breath, every sight, every sound is a final, irreplaceable gift. How would this awareness transform your morning? Would you rush through your tasks, consumed by trivial anxieties? Or would you savor the taste of your coffee, the warmth of the water on your skin, the simple act of connecting with a loved one? This is the deliberate practice of time memento mori, the remembrance of your own mortality. It is not a call to despair. It is a profound call to asterisk life, to wakefulness, to intentionality. You realize that the greatest thief of joy is often the illusion of endless time. We postpone kindness. We defer important conversations. We delay pursuing our deepest values, always believing there will be another day, another chance. But time, like all external things, is finite. It is not truly yours to command. This is the profound insight. The fragility of life is not a flaw. It is its most exquisite feature. It is what makes every moment, every connection, every opportunity to act virtuously incredibly valuable. You learn to live with a fierce, yet peaceful, urgency. Not a frantic rush, but a deliberate, mindful engagement. You prioritize what truly matters. You speak your truth. You offer your kindness. You pursue your purpose, not out of fear of running out of time, but out of a deep appreciation for the time you have. You transform the abstract concept of mortality into a powerful motivator for living a full, virtuous life. You realize that true resilience isn't just about bouncing back from external losses, but about constantly embracing the preciousness of every single moment, knowing it is borrowed. You become fully present, fully engaged, and in that profound embrace of your own finitude, you discover an unshakable inner peace. A life lived not in the shadow of death, but in the vibrant, illuminated clarity of its undeniable and ultimately liberating truth. You acquire it. That new possession, that coveted achievement, that comfortable status. For a brief, intoxicating moment, a sense of satisfaction washes over you. Finally, your mind whispers, "Now, I will be content." But the feeling, it is fleeting, like mist in the morning sun. Soon, a new desire emerges, a slightly better version, a more impressive accomplishment, a different, more alluring status. The goalposts of enough constantly shift, always just beyond your grasp. You feel the subtle yet persistent hum of discontent, the what if that haunts your present, the if only that diminishes your current blessings. The relentless treadmill of wanting, silence. This is the tyranny of insatiable desire. The profound delusion that external things, no matter how numerous or grand, can ever provide lasting inner peace. You are chasing an illusion. A mirage that promises satisfaction, but only delivers a thirst for more. You realize that this constant wanting is not a natural state, it is a conditioning, a habit of the mind. You have mistakenly assigned your inner happiness to external factors that are, by their very nature, temporary, unstable, and ultimately outside your control. This is the profound insight. True richness is not measured by what you have, but by what you can do without. Your freedom, your contentment, grows exponentially with your detachment from external things. You begin to observe your desires, not to suppress them entirely, but to examine their roots, to ask, is this desire truly aligned with my values? Or is it a mere craving, fueled by comparison, by advertising, by an unexamined belief that more equals better? You cultivate a deliberate appreciation for sufficiency, for what you already possess, for the simple necessities, the quiet comfort, the deep, often overlooked, blessings of your current life. This isn't about asceticism. It's about sovereignty. It's about reclaiming your inner peace from the relentless demands of more. You become the master of your desires, rather than their servant. You discover a profound resilience in this newfound contentment. When setbacks occur, when possessions are lost, when achievements are fleeting, your inner peace remains largely undisturbed. Because it was never truly dependent on those externals in the first place. You are free, not from desires themselves, but from their power to enslave your spirit. And in that liberation, you find an enduring satisfaction that no amount of external accumulation could ever provide. The relentless hum of wanting, the endless pursuit of jockey, more. You felt its exhausting grip, and you understood the profound folly of anchoring your peace to external, fleeting possessions. You began to loosen that grip. Now a new landscape opens before you. Not a barren one, but a landscape rich with previously unseen abundance. Silence. Imagine a traveler lost in a vast desert. They dream of an oasis, of lush gardens, of overflowing fountains. And they miss the single, precious drop of dew glistening on a thorny bush right before their eyes. This is often how you live. Consumed by the grand, distant desires, you overlook the quiet, profound sufficiency of the present moment. You begin to cultivate the wellspring of contentment within you, not by acquiring new things, but by rediscovering the inherent richness of the ordinary. You walk. You feel the ground beneath your feet, the rhythmic motion of your body, the breath in your lungs. These are not trivialities. They are miracles. They are the foundations of life. You taste your simple meal, not just as fuel, but as a symphony of flavors, a testament to labor, to nature, to the gift of nourishment. You feel the warmth of your clothing, the shelter of your home, the presence of a friend. These are not small things. They are the asterisk entirety the tesa, of your present experience. And when you bring your full awareness to them, they cease to be ordinary. They become extraordinary. They reveal their profound, inherent value. You realize that contentment is not something you acquire from the outside. It is something you cultivate from within. It is a choice, a deliberate shift in focus, a recognition that abundance is not about having everything, but about appreciating what you have. This practice is the true source of resilience. When external circumstances inevitably change, when loss strikes, when your grand plans unravel, your inner wellspring remains. Because your peace was never dependent on those external things. It was rooted in your capacity to find richness in the fundamental, the immediate, the truly controllable. You become a master of internal abundance. You discover that the world is not a place of scarcity, but a place overflowing with gifts, if only you choose to see them. And in that profound shift of perception, you unlock an unshakable contentment, a deep, quiet joy that needs nothing external to sustain it, for it draws its power from the infinite richness of your own mindful awareness. There it sits, the important task, the meaningful project, the one that truly matters. You know it needs your attention, you know it aligns with your deepest values, yet you scroll, you click, you drift. Minutes turn into hours, hours into a wasted day. A subtle gnawing sensation emerges. Not sharp pain, but a dull, persistent unease. A low-grade guilt. You tell yourself, I'll do it tomorrow. But tomorrow often brings the same cycle. Silence. This is the insidious trap of procrastination. The seemingly harmless deferral of what is important for the immediate, fleeting pleasure of instant gratification. You trade long-term fulfillment for short-term comfort. You realize this isn't just a lack of discipline, it's a profound misjudgment of value. You are prioritizing the trivial over the essential, the fleeting pleasure of a distraction over the deep satisfaction of virtuous action and meaningful progress. This is the profound insight. The true cost of procrastination is not just lost time, but lost integrity. You are betraying your own intentions. You are failing to act in accordance with your own reasoned judgment of what is good and right for you. You begin to observe the mechanism of this trap. The initial resistance to the difficult task, the mind's craving for ease, the seductive pull of mindless entertainment. You see them as impressions, as invitations to an unvirtuous path. But you learn that you do not have to assent. You cultivate a new understanding of pleasure, not the cheap, fleeting kind, but the deeper, more enduring satisfaction that comes from disciplined effort, from facing a challenge, from acting with purpose. This isn't about becoming a joyless machine. It's about becoming a master of your own attention. You choose to act, not when you feel like it, but when your reason dictates it. You understand that true freedom is not the ability to do whatever you want, but the ability to do what is right, even when it is difficult. You discover a profound resilience in this conscious choice. You realize that your ability to bounce back from setbacks to build a life of meaning depends entirely on your ability to consistently choose the demanding path of virtue. You reclaim your time, you reclaim your focus, and in that disciplined action, you find an unshakable inner peace, a deep, quiet satisfaction that far outweighs any fleeting distraction. The siren call of instant gratification, the gnawing guilt of procrastination. You felt its grip, and you began to understand that true freedom lies not in doing what is easy, but in doing what is right. You learn to distinguish between fleeting pleasure and enduring satisfaction. Now a deeper, more profound truth about this process begins to reveal itself. Silence. Imagine yourself not just as a person making individual choices, but as an architect of your own habits, You are constantly building, stone by stone, brick by brick. Every choice you make, however small, is either reinforcing a structure that serves your highest self or one that undermines it. When you repeatedly choose the easy distraction over the important task, you are strengthening the habit of procrastination. You are building a mental pathway that makes future deferral even more likely. This is not a judgment, it is simply an observation of cause and effect. Conversely, when you consistently choose the difficult, virtuous action, when you begin the task, however small, despite resistance, you are strengthening the habit of diligence. You are forging a new pathway, a pathway of discipline, of purpose. You realize that your life, your character, your very resilience is not a sudden eruption of greatness. It is the cumulative effect of countless small, intentional choices. It is the sum of your habits. This is the profound insight. Virtue is not an act, but a habit. And resilience is not a trait, but a muscle built through consistent, deliberate exercise. You begin to examine your daily rituals, your automatic responses, your default reactions, and you consciously, deliberately, start to reshape them. Not with brute force, but with patient, persistent intention. You make the virtuous choice, even if it's just for 5 minutes. You build momentum. You celebrate small victories. You understand that the power lies not in the magnitude of a single act, but in the consistency of many. You become the architect of your own character. You are no longer a victim of your impulses, but a conscious builder of your destiny. You find a deep satisfaction, not just in the eventual outcome, but in the very process of consistently choosing wisely. And in that deliberate, consistent forging of virtuous habits, you build an unshakable inner peace, a profound, enduring strength that makes you resilient not against failure, but in the very face of it. For you know your true power lies in the constant, intentional building of your own character. Someone wronged you, a perceived injustice, a sharp betrayal. Perhaps it was years ago, perhaps just yesterday, but the memory, it lingers. A heavy stone in your gut, a constant, low hum of resentment. You replay the scene, the words spoken, the actions taken, the perceived disrespect, and with each replay, the anger flares anew. You feel justified in holding on to it, for to let it go feels like an admission of defeat, a condoning of their wrong. Silence. This is the insidious burden of the lingering grudge. You believe you are punishing the other person. You believe you are protecting yourself. But in truth, you are shackling yourself to the past. You are allowing their past actions, over which you have no present control, to continue to dictate your inner state. You realize this is a profound miscalculation. Their actions, their character, their choices, these are externals. They are beyond your control. And to allow them to occupy your present thoughts, to poison your inner peace, is to grant them an enduring power they no longer possess. This is the profound insight. The grudge you carry is not a weapon against them. It is a poison you drink yourself, hoping they will suffer. You begin to observe this resentment, not with judgment, but with detached curiosity. You see how it twists your perception, how it consumes your energy, how it prevents you from fully embracing the present moment, from truly moving forward. You cultivate a new kind of freedom, the freedom that comes from releasing what does not serve you. This isn't about forgetting the past or condoning injustice. It is about understanding that true justice for yourself lies in reclaiming your inner peace, in refusing to allow external events, even painful ones, to permanently define your emotional landscape. This isn't about being naive, it's about being strategically wise. You choose to act with virtue. You seek to right wrongs where possible through rational action, not through internal bitterness. But you do so from a place of strength and clarity, not from the reactive force of a lingering wound. You discover a profound resilience in this act of release. You realize that your ability to bounce back, to build a meaningful future, depends entirely on your willingness to shed the burdens of the past. You reclaim your emotional sovereignty, and in that conscious unburdening you find an unshakable inner peace. A liberation that allows you to walk forward, light and unhindered, into a future of your own making. The heavy stone of resentment. The bitter taste of a lingering grudge. You felt its burden, and you began to understand that clinging to past wrongs was not punishing another, but poisoning yourself. You recognize the folly of letting external actions dictate your inner state. Now, a deeper, more profound act of liberation awaits. Silence. Imagine yourself carrying a heavy, unwieldy sack on your back. It is filled with rocks. Each rock represents a past slight, an injustice, a moment of anger you refuse to let go of. With every step you take into the future, the sack grows heavier. It slows you down. It saps your strength. It bends your back. This is the burden of an unforgiven past. You are physically moving forward, but your spirit remains tethered, dragged backward by the weight of what has already happened. The past, by its very nature, is immutable. It cannot be changed. To fight against it is to fight against reality itself. You realize that releasing the past is not about condoning wrong. It is not about forgiving someone else for their sake. It is about forgiving them, and perhaps yourself, for your sake. It is about dropping the sack of rocks. This is the profound insight. True freedom comes not from changing the past, but from changing your relationship with it. You begin to practice this release. When the memory of a past wrong arises, you acknowledge it. You feel the residual pang. But then, you consciously, deliberately, unbind yourself from it. You recognize it as an event that has already occurred. Its power over you now exists only if you grant it. You focus your energy on what is within your control. Your present actions, your future choices, your inner peace. You cultivate a spirit of acceptance, not of defeat, but of profound wisdom. You understand that the most powerful act of moving on is to actively choose to live in the present, unburdened by the unchangeable. This isn't a passive process. It is an active, courageous, and ongoing choice. It requires strength, but the reward is immense. You discover a profound resilience in this unburdened heart. You realize that your ability to bounce back from any setback, to create a meaningful life, depends on your capacity to travel light, to leave the dead weight of the past behind you. You reclaim your energy, you reclaim your peace, and in that conscious act of letting go, you find an unshakable inner calm. A liberation that allows you to walk forward with an open heart and a clear mind into the full, vibrant potential of your present and your future. You set your course, a clear purpose, a guiding star. You invest your energy, your passion, your very self into a project, a career, a grand ambition. And then the setback hits, a sudden, unexpected failure, a crushing loss, a reversal that devastates not just your plans, but your very sense of direction. The carefully constructed narrative of your life, it shatters. You feel adrift, lost. The meaning you once found in your pursuits, it seems to evaporate. A profound emptiness settles in. What was it all for? A voice whispers within you. Where do I go from here? Silence. This is the crisis of meaning. The profound disorientation that occurs when your external anchors of purpose are ripped away. You had mistakenly derived your sense of direction, your intrinsic value, from a specific outcome, a particular achievement, an external circumstance. And now, without it, you feel unmoored. You realize this is a crucial vulnerability. To place your sense of purpose, your very reason for being, into the hands of external, uncontrollable events, is to build your house on shifting sand. When the tides turn, as they always do, the foundation crumbles, leaving you adrift. This is the profound insight. Your true purpose, your deepest sense of meaning, must come from within. It must be independent of external outcomes. You begin to re-examine the source of your drive, not what you achieve, but how you achieve it. Not the specific destination, but the asterisk values that guide your journey. Are you acting with courage, with justice, with wisdom, with self-control? Are you striving to be a good human being, regardless of the external results? This internal compass, this unshakable commitment to virtue, becomes your new, enduring source of direction. When plans fall apart, when failures mount, when losses strike, your internal purpose remains intact. Because it was never tied to those external things in the first place, you discover a profound resilience in this unwavering inner alignment. You realize that your ability to bounce back, to find a new path, to re-establish a sense of direction, flows from this internal wellspring of virtue. You are not defined by what happens to you, but by how you choose to respond. You become the architect of your own meaning. You forge a purpose that is impervious to the whims of fortune. And in that steadfast commitment to your own character, you find an unshakable inner peace. A profound sense of direction that guides you, clear and true, through any storm. The earth-shattering setback. The loss of direction. You felt the raw, disorienting emptiness when your external anchors of meaning were torn away. You realized that true purpose must emanate from within, impervious to the whims of fate. Now, the deeper work begins. Not just to find purpose and challenge, but to forge it. To temper your spirit in the very fires that threatened to consume it. Silence. Imagine a sculptor. They do not merely search for a finished statue in the stone. They see the raw block. They understand that the final form emerges through the violent, deliberate act of chiseling, of shaping, of removing what is extraneous. The hammer strikes, the chips fly, and from the crucible of that effort, a new form emerges. This is what you begin to do with your challenges, your setbacks, your moments of profound loss. You stop seeing them as reasons to abandon your purpose. You begin to see them as the very material from which a deeper, more resilient purpose can be sculpted. You ask yourself, what virtue can I practice in this moment? How can this adversity sharpen my courage, deepen my compassion, strengthen my resolve? How can this experience, however painful, reveal a new understanding of what truly matters to me? Perhaps the loss of a specific career path forces you to discover a latent talent, a deeper passion, or a more aligned way to serve others. Perhaps a personal failure illuminates a flaw in your character that, once addressed, makes you a wiser, more complete human being. This isn't about forced positivity. It's about profound, active transformation. It's about understanding that the external event in itself is indifferent. But your response to it, the meaning you ascribe to it, the character you forge within it, that is entirely within your domain. That is where true purpose resides. You realize that resilience is not just bouncing back to your old self. It's about evolving. It's about becoming a new, stronger, more purposeful self because of the challenges you have faced. Your purpose is not lost in the setback. It is refined. It is clarified. It is made more robust. You become the sculptor of your own meaning, using the very blows of fate, the very crises that threaten to undo you, as tools. And in that deliberate, courageous act of forging, you discover an unshakable inner peace. A profound sense of direction that is not merely found, but fiercely, unyieldingly, created anew from the crucible of every challenge. You stand at a crossroads, or perhaps many crossroads, stretching endlessly before you. Each path, a different possibility, a new opportunity, a potential pitfall. The sheer weight of choice, it feels paralyzing. Your mind races. What if you choose incorrectly? What if you miss the optimal path? The fear of regret, of making the wrong decision. It whispers loudly. You crave certainty, a clear, undeniable sign pointing to the best way forward. But the sign never comes. Only more questions, more possibilities. You feel a profound sense of overwhelm, of indecision. You want to move forward, yet you remain frozen, paralyzed by the vast open sea of uncertainty. Silence. This is the tyranny of infinite choices. The illusion that there is always a single perfect path, and that your happiness depends entirely on identifying and following it. You are in essence trying to control an external outcome, the best future, which is, by its very nature, uncontrollable. You realize this is a crucial misdirection of your energy. The world, with its countless variables, will never offer absolute certainty. To demand it, to wait for it, is to postpone your life. This is the profound insight. Your power lies not in making the perfect choice, but in making a virtuous choice. You begin to shift your focus. Instead of obsessing over the external outcome, you turn inward. You consult your inner compass. You ask yourself, which of these paths, given the information I have, allows me to best practice courage? Justice? Wisdom? Temperance? Which choice aligns most deeply with the kind of person I want to be, regardless of the external result? You accept that every path carries its own unique set of challenges and opportunities. There is no truly wrong path if your intentions are virtuous and your efforts are diligent. The external results are indifferent. Your character, forged in the making of the decision and in the navigating of its consequences, is what truly matters. You discover a profound resilience in this approach. You are no longer paralyzed by the fear of external failure. You are empowered by the certainty of internal integrity. You move forward, not with naive optimism, but with a quiet confidence that whatever the path brings, you possess the inner resources to meet it with virtue. You become a navigator of your own destiny, charting your course, not by external signs, but by the steady, unwavering light of your own inner compass. And in that courageous, intentional action, you find an unshakable peace, a profound freedom that allows you to embrace uncertainty, knowing your true power resides in your choices, not in their predetermined outcomes. The paralyzing weight of choice, the vast, uncertain sea of possibility. You felt the fear of the wrong decision. And you began to understand that true power lies not in predicting outcomes, but in making virtuous choices. Now, a deeper clarity emerges. A method to navigate even the most complex dilemmas. Silence. Imagine yourself as a skilled surgeon. Before making an incision, they do not rely on hopeful guesswork or emotional impulse. They meticulously examine the situation. They gather all available information. They consider the potential impacts of each action. They rely above all on precise reason and their trained judgment. This is how you begin to approach your overwhelming choices. You apply the clear, unwavering light of reason. First, you distinguish. What aspects of this decision are truly within your control, your deliberation, your intentions, your effort? What aspects are external, beyond your control, the market conditions, other people's reactions, the ultimate outcome? You release your attachment to controlling these externals. Then, you clarify your values. What virtues are at stake here? Is it honesty, courage, justice, prudence? You hold these virtues as your non-negotiable guiding principles. Next, you gather information as best you can. Not to eliminate all uncertainty, for that is impossible, but to inform your judgment. What are the known facts? What are the probabilities? What are the potential, but not guaranteed, consequences of each path? Finally, you make your choice. not with perfect certainty, but with reasoned conviction. You choose the path that, to the best of your ability and alignment with your virtues, seems most sensible. And once the decision is made, you commit to it fully, accepting that the outcome may still be unpredictable. This isn't a formula for never making mistakes. It's a method for never regretting your choices, because you know you acted with reason and virtue. You transform the fear of the unknown into an opportunity to practice wisdom. You realize that resilience isn't just about weathering storms, but about navigating them with a steady hand and a clear mind. You become the pilot of your own ship, steering by the immutable stars of your own character, rather than being tossed by the fickle winds of external circumstance. And in that deliberate application of reason, you find an unshakable inner peace, a profound freedom that allows you to face any dilemma, knowing that your true power lies in the clarity of your judgment and the integrity of your actions, not in the certainty of any given outcome. The setback hits, the loss, the bitter disappointment. You feel its crushing weight, and in that moment, a profound sense of isolation descends. You withdraw. You internalize. You believe that no one else truly understands the depth of your struggle. You observe others. They seem to glide effortlessly through life, untouched by the very challenges that plague you. Their successes, their apparent peace, it contrasts sharply with your inner turmoil. You build walls around your pain. You endure in silence. You convince yourself that this battle is yours alone to fight. Silence. This is the insidious myth of isolated struggle. The profound delusion that your unique suffering sets you apart, severs you from the human experience. You mistake individuality for isolation. You realize this is a crucial misjudgment. While the asterisk specifics of your challenges may be unique, the experience of adversity, of failure, of loss, of doubt, these are universal threads woven into the fabric of human existence. Every soul, in its own way, grapples with the unpredictable currents of life. This is the profound insight. You are never truly alone in your struggles. You begin to observe the interconnectedness, the shared humanity, the quiet, often unspoken battles fought by everyone around you. The seemingly effortless individual likely wrestled with their own fears, their own failures, their own moments of despair just yesterday. You cultivate a new perspective, not one of weakness, but of profound strength and unity. You understand that seeking counsel, asking for help, sharing your vulnerability, these are not admissions of incapacity. They are acts of courage. They are acknowledgments of your place within the larger human community, a community that, by its very nature, is designed to support and uplift its members. This isn't about outsourcing your inner work. It's about recognizing that resilience is not a solitary endeavor. It is strengthened and deepened through connection, through shared wisdom, through mutual understanding. You discover a profound liberation in this realization. The heavy burden of isolation begins to lift. You shed the fear of judgment, understanding that authentic connection is built not on a facade of perfection, but on the shared reality of our common humanity. You become a participant in the collective human journey, drawing strength from others, offering your own in return. And in that conscious connection, you find an unshakable inner peace, a profound reassurance that even in your darkest hours, you are never truly alone. The heavy cloak of isolation, the belief that your struggles were yours alone. You felt its suffocating weight, and you began to understand that adversity, while personal, is a universal human experience. You are never truly alone. Now, a deeper, more profound truth about this interconnectedness begins to reveal itself. Silence. Imagine a single thread. It is strong, yes, but if strained enough, it can snap. Now imagine that thread woven into a vast, intricate tapestry. Each thread, unique in color and texture, supports and is supported by every other. When one thread weakens, the surrounding ones offer their strength. When a pattern shifts, the whole fabric adapts. This is the power of community, of human connection. You are not a solitary thread, vulnerable to every strain. You are part of an interwoven fabric. You realize that resilience is not merely an individual attribute. It is also a collective strength. When you reach out, when you share your burden, you are not diminishing your own strength. You are tapping into the vast reservoir of shared human experience, of empathy, of wisdom that exists all around you. This is the profound insight. To be truly resilient, you must both cultivate your inner strength and actively engage with the strength of others. You begin to practice this engagement. You seek out wise counsel. You offer your support to others in their struggles. You participate in the human project of mutual aid and understanding. You learn that sometimes the most courageous act is to admit you don't have all the answers. To allow yourself to be supported. This isn't about dependency, it's about synergy. It's about recognizing that as social beings, our flourishing is deeply intertwined. Your virtue is often best expressed and most profoundly challenged in your interactions with others. Your compassion grows when you witness their struggles. Your wisdom expands when you absorb their insights. You discover a profound liberation in this woven fabric of humanity. The fear of external setbacks lessens because you know you are not facing them alone. You have an anchor in your inner character, yes, but you also have the support of countless other anchors, reaching out to you, holding firm. You become a conscious contributor to this tapestry, adding your unique strength, drawing from the collective. And in that conscious, courageous connection, you find an unshakable inner peace, a profound sense of purpose that is not just your own, but is enriched and emboldened by the interwoven strength of community. You have journeyed far. You have faced setbacks. You have cultivated wisdom. You have built an inner fortress. You feel stronger, more resilient, more at peace than ever before. And a quiet thought begins to form. Perhaps I have arrived. Perhaps I am now truly stoic. You envision a final state, a plateau of unshakable calm, a permanent freedom from emotional disturbance, a place where external events no longer stir your soul. You yearn for this absolute, unwavering perfection. Silence. Then, a flicker, a moment of unexpected frustration, a pang of disappointment, an old habit, subtly re-emerging. The illusion of arrival, it shatters. And a sense of discouragement creeps in. I thought I was past this, you whisper. I thought I had mastered it. This is the insidious myth of arrival. There's a profound delusion that spiritual or philosophical growth is a destination, a fixed state of perfection that, once attained, requires no further effort. You are mistaking a continuous journey for a final achievement. You realize this is a crucial vulnerability. To expect perfect, unwavering adherence to Stoic principles, to demand an end to all inner struggle, is to set yourself up for inevitable disappointment. You are, in essence, trying to control the uncontrollable, the ebb and flow of human emotion, the ceaseless work of maintaining virtue. This is the profound insight. Stoicism is not a state of being, but a daily, unending practice. You begin to shift your perspective. You see yourself not as a finished product, but as a perpetual student, a craftsman forever honing their skill. Each day presents a new opportunity to practice, to apply reason, to choose virtue. Each setback is not a failure of your stoicism, but an opportunity to *be stoic. You cultivate a new form of patience, not just with external events, but with yourself. You accept that you are human, that emotions will arise, that old habits may occasionally resurface, but your commitment to the practice, your unwavering intention to return to reason, remains. This isn't about complacency. It's about realistic, sustainable growth. You find peace not in the absence of struggle, but in the steadfastness of your commitment to it. you discover a profound resilience in this ongoing practice. You realize that your ability to bounce back, to continuously refine your character, comes from embracing the journey itself, with all its imperfections and renewed efforts. You are not waiting for perfection. You are living it, one deliberate, virtuous choice at a time. And in that continuous effort, you find an unshakable inner peace, a profound satisfaction in the unending work of becoming, the illusion of arrival, the expectation of a final, perfect state of stoic calm. You felt its fleeting promise and its inevitable disappointment. You realized that growth is not a destination, but an unending journey. Now, a profound shift occurs within you, a liberation from the weight of expected perfection, silence. Imagine yourself standing at the edge of a vast ocean. The horizon stretches endlessly before you. There is no single point you can reach and declare, "I have now conquered the ocean." No, the ocean itself is the journey. Its depths, its currents, its storms and calms are all part of the continuous experience. Your skill, your wisdom, your resilience, they are honed by the very act of sailing, day after day, year after year. This is the path of continuous growth. You embrace the understanding that life is a dynamic process, that reason, virtue, and wisdom are not static achievements, but living, breathing practices that deepen and expand with every passing moment. You realize that every challenge, every setback, every moment of self-doubt is not a sign of failure in your practice. It is an asterisk opportunity to practice. It is the very material upon which your resilience is built, the opportunity to reapply your principles, to learn, to adapt, to reaffirm your commitment to your inner compass. This is the profound insight. The journey is the destination. You cultivate a radical acceptance of imperfection, not as an excuse for complacency, but as a recognition of the human condition. You understand that the struggle is not something to be overcome once and for all, but something to be engaged with, skillfully and virtuously, throughout your entire life. You find joy in the process itself, in the constant learning, in the subtle shifts of understanding, in the small daily triumphs of choosing reason over emotion, virtue over vice. Your peace comes not from the absence of internal conflict, but from the unwavering commitment to meeting that conflict with your highest self. You discover a profound, enduring resilience, not because you are immune to life's blows, but because you have developed the strength to continuously adapt, to perpetually grow, to always return to your core principles, no matter how many times you stumble. You become a lifelong student, forever sailing towards the endless horizon of self-mastery, and in that conscious embrace of continuous growth, you find an unshakable inner peace, a profound, dynamic contentment that flows from the unwavering commitment to the journey itself, a journey that never truly ends, but only deepens, expands, and enriches your spirit with every deliberate, virtuous step.